Okay, as we start the letter Chet, I'm teaching the Hebrew alphabet every week. I'm spending time on one letter. Now, how many of you could talk for an hour on the letter K? I can go an hour on every Hebrew letter. There is so much depth to it. But today we're learning the letter Chet, which is in the middle. But I want to point out how close it is to other Hebrew letters. So when you write that letter, you understand on the far right is the letter Hey, but you'll notice at the top left there's like a window. You see that? But in the middle letter, that left line goes all the way to the top. And the letter Hey means to behold. It's like there's a window. You can look inside and behold. There's the letter Het. Now the next one on the far left is the letter Tav, and the only difference really is it has a foot. Do you see the little foot on the far left? You can kind of see a curve. But I just wanted to point that out so you don't get confused, because a lot of the letters are real similar to each other. I'll show you some others later. But the letter Het is life. It's the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, the number 7, God created the earth in 7 days, the heavens and the earth, it means completeness. The number 8 means to transcend. It's superabundance. More. That's why Passover, there's the 8th day. It's a coat, there's a 8th day. The number 8 is like on a musical note, okay? It starts back over again. Everything is in cycles. Now, if you remember, let me go here, the ancient Hebrew letter, Het, the font that David would have used, it looked like a fence, okay? It also means to guard or protect. And so it's the number 8. And so you have the idea of protection. Het is protection. It means to have borders. What a concept. It also means circumcision. On the 8th day was the circumcision. Okay, it's like a new life is beginning. Just like we have the 7 days, the 7th day is the 1,000-year reign. The 8th day is the new heavens and the new earth. It means new beginnings. This is why circumcision was on the 8th day. Now, who knows that Hebrew word on the bottom right corner? Besides Lance. Okay, if you'll notice, it begins with what letter? Het. Okay. What is the Hebrew word for dedication? Hanukkah. Hanukkah is 8 days because that's what it's to dedicate. That's why they circumcise on the 8th day, because you're dedicating your child to God. Okay, so I wanted to bring out Hanukkah because it began with that. So here it means a fence. It also is the number 8. We know from, listen to this, Isaiah. This is a powerful verse I know you'll love. Leviticus 9:1, I'll start there. It says, it came to pass on the 8th day that they dedicated Moses' tabernacle. Okay, it was the first of Nisan, but the first of Nisan was also the 8th day. Just like in a week, you have the 7 days, okay, a Sunday through Saturday. The first day is Sunday, but that next Sunday is also the 8th day. It's the 8th day and the first day. So here we see that Moses' tabernacle was dedicated on the 8th day. Everything has to do with dedication. It was the first, and it means also protection. Listen to this. In Isaiah 26:20, God says, "Come, my people, enter into your chambers." Why would you enter into your chambers? For protection. And you can see it begins with the letter Het. And then watch this. "And shut your doors about you, hide yourself as it were for a little moment until the indignation be overpassed." Well, here's that word, hide. And it also begins with the letter Het. So I want you to think of the letter Het as a fence, a wall, something to protect you. How many of you want to have protection during the tribulation if you're here? Yeah. Hello? That's what this is talking about. Hide yourself in the chambers until the indignation is overpassed. And then in Leviticus 22:27, it says, "When a bull or a sheep or a goat is brought forth, it shall be 7 days with its mom, but from the 8th day and thenceforth it may be accepted for an offering, made by fire to the Lord." So what do we find? God even says, even of the animals, you can't offer them until they're at least 8 days old. So 8 is very significant. Now, here I have the Passover. If you remember, they had to do the lintels and the wall. Well, that's literally like the letter Het, protection. Now, how many of you heard of Noah? There's a musician called Bach. Okay, his name is actually Noach. We say Noah, but that's the Western name, which is fine, it's English. But his name was Noach. And so, what do we see? That Het at the end, well, that Het means protection, and the Nun is life, so life is being protected. That is what Noah was all about. And the amazing thing, you add the letter M or the mem on the end, it means comfort. And Noah was named Noah because his name means comfort, and his father said he's going to comfort everybody. The amazing thing is you take Noach and you turn the name around, you get Hen, which is, whoops, went too fast, which is grace. And Noah found grace. And his very name, Noah, turned around, is grace. It was built right into his name. All right, now we're going to have some fun. Are you guys ready to have some fun? Let's say, okay. Genesis 3:20. Adam called his wife's name Eve. Now, we all know that wasn't her name because that's English, because she was the mother of all living. Here we have Eve, or Chava. You see the Het and then the Hey at the end. And Eve's name means basically the mother of all living. She was the first mother. Now, I want to show you something else here. Of all life, many of you know Chai. You ever heard of the word Chai? Chai, life. Well, who can read this for me? Anybody can read? Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live. The word live is Chai, okay? At the very last letter to your left, you see the Het and the Yud, and it is Yisrael Chai, which means may the people of Israel live. Now, let me tell you something really funny. In Genesis, so Chai means life. In Genesis 17:17, Abraham is told by God that he's going to have a kid. And it says Abraham fell on his face and he laughed and laughed. That was his laughing place. I'm 100 years old and I'm going to have a kid. You got to be kidding me. It says right here, he said in his heart, will a child be born to him who is 100 years old and who, Sarah, who is how old? 90. Is she going to give birth? And he just cracked up laughing. He was 100 and she's 90. Well, look at Genesis 18:11 and 12. The angel comes back. Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age. Sarah had passed the age of childbearing, and when she heard she was going to have a baby, what did she do? She laughed and laughed. And then we go to Genesis 21:3. Abraham calls his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, who? Now, God told him what he had to name him, and it is Yitzhak. And guess what his name means? Laughter. Abraham laughs, Sarah laughs, so the child is named Laughter. Now, here's what's amazing. Here's Isaac's name, and guess what? The first letter Shaddai is 90, the last letter Kuf is 100, so the very word is 100-year-old and the 90-year-old come together, and in the middle is the Het producing life. But you don't see that in the English. In the Hebrew, you can see it was 100-year-old and 90-year-old that came together, and it produced life, which is Chai, and that's why they laughed. This is how you know God is alive, God is real, God intervenes. You can't do this. Okay, here's the word that begins with the letter Het, Chata, and it means sin. And look at the next word. Chametz means leaven, and leaven is likened to sin. And they both begin with the letter Het. All right, here's another good one. Brother is Ach, and Ach is the Aleph and the Het. But guess what? You also, in the ancient font, you have an ox and a fence. And what that basically means is that your brother is a strong fence for you. That's what your brother is supposed to be. A brother is supposed to be someone who's strong at your side. And that also means you have to have unity. If you don't have unity, that brotherhood is broken. And so unity is a door that can only be entered by brothers. And do we want to be a strong fence or do we want to be a broken fence? We want to be a strong fence. Now, look at this one. This is chazah, which is vision, okay? And it means to perceive, to have a vision of. And in Lamentations 2:9, it talks about Jerusalem's gates have been sunk into the ground. He's destroyed and broken her bars. Okay, so the gates have been broken. Her king and her princes are now among the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets find no vision from the Lord. They have no vision. That is the word for vision. And what happens is this, that word for a vision, the het is a barrier. The zayin is like a sword we talked about. It's to cut something. And then the last letter is revelation. You're cutting the barrier to having a revelation. But what happens is all of a sudden when we're not brothers and things get destroyed, there is no vision and the law is no more. If you think you're a prophet and you have visions, if you think the law is no more, you're a liar. Oh, ouch. How many prophets are around in Christianity? Thus says the Lord. Oh, but guess what? The law's done away with. It don't match. Okay, now let's go to, let's see this. Let me see. Where's Isaiah 11:1? Am I almost done? Hope you guys like this. It's kind of fascinating to me. Here we go, Isaiah 11:1. There shall come forth a shoot or a branch, okay, out of the stock of Jesse, and a branch out of his roots will bear fruit. Again, it begins with the letter Het, and there's a little branch sprouting out of a dead olive tree. And so it also, the Het, refers to the Messiah in this word. Okay, so now comes the most exciting time of the letter Het. I can hardly wait for it. Okay, here we go. Genesis 2:7. It says, the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Guess what the Hebrew word for life is? Right there, Chai. It's the Het and the letter Yud. All right? And what did the Lord use to make man? His hand. And the letter Yud is hand. This is God's hand bringing life. And he forms man. Oh, and here's another anomaly. In Hebrew, there's so many things that's missed in English. In Hebrew, there are words intentionally misspelled. God didn't make a mistake. He intentionally misspelled them wrong. When God makes the animals, it says he uses his hands, and the word has only one letter Yud. But when he makes man, it has two letter Yuds because he's using both his hands to make man. But you don't see that transferred into the English. But anyway, now, here's the next thing. I want you to look at this word. That's life, right? If you take the letter lamed and add it to life, you get the word chayil. And the lamed means authority, power. Do you want to be alive but a quadriplegic? Or do you want to be alive and have authority and have power? That's, okay. Well, guess what? I want you to listen very carefully. The word chayil means a force to be reckoned with. It means to have all of the resources needed. It means to be like an army, wealth, virtue, valor, strength. It means to possess all that is needed to carry out the task. Now that's powerful, right? It basically means like men of valor. It's called an army sometimes. That is the word chayil. Okay, so say Kayil, not Kayil. Kayil. Power, there's a power behind this. Kayil. Ooh. Okay, I want you got to get this. Listen to Joshua 1:14. You shall pass before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. That is Kayil, men of valor, right? And you know what's interesting? It says to help them. That's the same Hebrew word in Genesis where Adam needs a helper. Oh. Oh. What? All right. Do you want your enemies to have increased power, or do you want your allies to have everything that they need to increase their power? Do you want a powerful ally or a weak ally? Okay, now listen to this. Psalm 108:3. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that will tread down our enemies. Guess what the Hebrew word for valiantly is? Come on, where's the power? I want to hear the power. Kayil. Okay, listen to Psalm 59:11. God scatter them by your power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. Scatter them by your power is? How about God's power? Is that pretty strong? It's Kayil. Okay. Isaiah 65. Because the abundance of the sea will be converted to you, the forces of the Gentiles will come to you. And the Hebrew word for forces is? Second Chronicles, one more. Second Chronicles 17, 12, and 13. Jehoshaphat waxed exceedingly great. He built in Judah castles, cities. He had much business in the cities, and the men of war, the mighty men of valor, were in Jerusalem, and the Hebrew word for valor is? All right, here we go. So here it is. Kayil is valor, valiant, powerful, forceful, an army. Proverbs 31, 10, and 11. Who can find a virtuous woman? Guess what? The word for virtuous woman is Kayil. That is exactly right. A mighty warrior. God is looking for women who are powerful, mighty warriors. And men should not be afraid of their allies. They should appreciate them. She's like a conquering army. As a matter of fact, it says that, listen to this, Proverbs 31, 10, 11. Who can find a Kayil woman? Her price is far above rubies. And it says the heart of her husband safely trusts in her, so he will have no need of spoil. Why? He has no need of spoil because she's out there conquering. And the word safely trust means to put your hope in, to put your confidence in, to trust with your life in the midst of a battle, one you can depend on in a crisis. She's not to be viewed as the enemy, but the one he trusts in no matter what they are facing together. Have an amen from the women? Anyway. All right. Sorry I went a little long. But I want to strengthen you guys. I want to fill you with power. That's what it's all about. Let's stand.